A new study has come out that has demonstrated that 1 in 3 prescription drugs that people are taking every day can cause depression and increase the risk of suicide. And yet no one knows about the dangers because it's not on the patient sheets they get. Doctors don't seem to be told about it. And yet the risk is there. It affects more than 200 of the most commonly prescribed drugs, ranging from heart medication, painkillers, and even indigestion pills, and which have depression and suicidal ideation or thoughts as side effects. So, and the trouble is because no one realizes this. People who are happily taking these drugs may suddenly become depressed or worse, suicidal, and never for a minute suspect that the drug is the problem. They'll go spend their life ferreting around looking for the reason why they're suddenly depressed or want to end their lives. And yet it's this simple remedy that they're taking every day, and just no one knows it. And it's just absolutely shocking that, again, it seems to demonstrate to me an enormous hole in drug research, that these side effects, adverse reactions, call them what you will, are happening. And nobody's been recording it.
No, Brian, and it is really shocking because even the drugs that have been identified as increasing risk of suicide, there may be drug warnings about them in the medical literature or the drugs bibles like the Physician's Desk Reference or the Data Sheet Compendium in the UK, but doctors aren't reading that. I mean, I was horrified to hear that a friend of ours, his daughter, when she was a teenager and until recently, has had 4 courses of Roaccutane for acne. Now, Roaccutane is well known to increase the risk of suicide among children, so much so that the Food and Drug Administration has actually issued warnings, and I think the drug is now off the market, right, in the States?
Yeah.
So it's not off the market here in the UK where we are. And yet doctors haven't kept up with that. There's no way they do keep up with that. And that is the real worry, is that even the correctly prescribed drugs, they're not looking at the fine print to see what these drugs cause. But it also really points to something bigger, which is if there's all these other drugs, proton pump inhibitors, which are for the gut, and all kinds of things like that, that cause all kinds of issues like this, we have to ask, what do these drugs do? And the bottom line is that you can't ever think of a drug having an effect in isolation. Drugs don't have a single linear effect because the body isn't a single linear being. So in other words, they think that a drug will have tab A or slotting into slot B. And that's the way they think a drug's going to work. But it doesn't. It goes into slot B, C, D, F, G, all over the body and has all of these untoward effects. And that's really what we have to take on board with prescription drugs, is that they can have everything's connected, so they can have an effect anywhere.
And it's interesting you say prescription drugs, and it is mainly that, but the researchers found that the same applied to over-the-counter remedies, things you can buy at your local pharmacy without a prescription. Common painkillers, indigestion aids, they all can increase the risk of depression and suicide. And the researchers found that, it's not just feeling a bit down, a bit blue. I mean, this is cases where people end up with a clinical diagnosis of depression. And guess what? It triggers an antidepressant prescription.
Yeah.
And this problem is, we're seeing these 200 drugs that have been identified, prescribing of them has increased by 3% in recent years. So more and more people are taking them, totally unaware that they could be causing depression or suicide. And, to be fair, the doctor doesn't know it either. No one's talking about this. No one's researching this. No one's telling anyone about this. And yet it could be, one of the hidden causes of these problems. And it is quite extraordinary. And This is quite major research. They looked at 26,000 people who were taking one of these drugs and found an enormous problem with it. So again, no one's stepping up here and taking responsibility for this.
Which means that you have to. You have to control your own health, do your own reading, do your own checking into things, and that's what we're here for.
And I think, even in this case, I mean, they wouldn't have known that, even if they had done the research, because no one's researched it. This is the problem. And, I think the thing is to, always look for another way of treating a problem. Don't just look as a drug as the magic bullet that's going to do this for you, because it really is a case there's no such thing as a free lunch when it comes to drugs.
Absolutely. Wayne Dyer, the late great Wayne Dyer, once said there's a spiritual solution to every problem. Mm-hmm. And I always think of it as there's an alternative medicine solution to every problem.
Thanks for listening. I'm Brian Hubbard.
And I'm Lynn McTaggart.